Hello and welcome to another video of EduBoy. In this video, we'll be studying Chapter 8 from Class 8 History. Before starting the video, if you're new on the channel, please like the channel and press the bell icon for the latest updates. Women Caste and Reforms Part 1. What we'll learn in this chapter: the standard of women in India before the 18th century, the sati pratha followed by the Indians working towards the change, the Indian reformers and how they helped to change the society and change in the lives of widows. Life of women before the 18th century. Have you ever wondered about the lives of women and children 200 years before? Nowadays, most of the girls from the middle class families go to school, but it was not the same 200 years before. The girls and women were even not allowed to get out of their house. The women were not allowed to read and write. They thought that the right of education was only for the man. The children were married off in a small age in some of the areas. So in the olden times, there was a bit bad type of tradition that was going on in the society. The women were not allowed to read and write, and if they read and write, it was believed that they were the widows now. And that sati pratha was very bad. Now, working towards a change. For this type of culture, for this type of tradition, we have to bring a change. So, from the early 19th century, we find debates and discussions about social customs and practices taking on a new character. One important reason for this was the development of new forms of communication. For the first time, books, newspaper, magazines, leaflets, and pamphlets were printed. These debates were often initiated by Indian reformers and reform groups. So now the people were aware about the women's society. By the early 19th century, there were many newspapers, pamphlets, leaflets which were printed for the women society. Now, the reformers. One of the popular reformer was Raja Ram Mohan Rai. He founded a reform association known as the Brahmo Sabha in Calcutta. People such as Ram Mohan Rai are described as reformers because they felt that changes were necessary in society and unjust practices needed to be done away with. So the reformers were the people who wanted to reform the society, who wanted to change the society, who wanted a new society for a new India. Now, the changing lives of widows. People like Raja Ram Mohan Rai, particularly moved by the problems widows faced in their lives, they began a campaign against the practice of sati. By the early 19th century, many British officials also had begun to criticize Indian traditions and customs. Thus, in 1829, sati was banned. As you know, sati is a very painful tradition that was followed by the Indians. Actually, in sati, if the husband of a woman dies, she had to jump in the fire with the husband. After these changes occur, girls began going to school. Many of the reformers felt that education for girls was important in order to improve the condition of women. You know, if a woman learns something, the whole of the family learns. Means, if a woman was educated, then the family will be educated. Vidyasagar, who was also a reformer in Calcutta, and many of the other reformers also opened school for the girls in Bombay. Now, what was the problem? When the first school opened in mid-19th century for girls, people were afraid of them. They feared that schools would take their daughter away from home and prevent them from doing the domestic duties. Moreover, girls have to travel to public places in order to reach the schools. The people thought it would make them corrupt. So, as the peoples thought were of the old tradition, so they were feared that if their daughter will go, something may happen with them, or they will become corrupt and not their domestic works. Part 2 coming soon. Please like and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.